Mr. Poss and Mr. Siebert, and traveling that direction towards Mr. Sean Driver and Mr. Shannon Cantrell's office. If you've ever been to the Alexandria County Fair, you know that many families are very comfortable bringing their precious family items because they are locked in display cases.
Ms. Thomas, your time has expired. I'm sorry.
Is my time up?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you.
Would any other member of the public like to speak to the county commission? All right.
Can I speak on behalf of the commission?
I want to thank the seniors. Go ahead. I can't hear you.
Thank you all for coming. I'm one of you.
Yeah. Hey, I want to thank you for coming and educating me on how much you're using the building and the room. I wasn't aware it was being used that much. I appreciate you coming, showing support, and I appreciate how you handled yourself in a meeting. That ought to show a lot of people how you're supposed to act. Thank you.
All right. Well, seeing no more comments, we'll move on to the approval of our agenda. Would any commissioner like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right. We got a motion by Greg
Second.
and seconded by Myron Rhodey to approve our agenda for tonight. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Go on to the approval of our minutes from our...
We approve the minutes.
All right. Motion by Tom Chandler. Seconded by Sabrina Farler to approve the December 23rd, 2024 meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Our financial reports, I'll ask for trustee Sean Driver to come up and give a trustee's report.
Good evening. Good evening. All right, everybody should have a copy of my report as far as the trustees' report in front of you. And we will go over that. If there's any questions, we can address those to the mayor, and then I'll try to answer those. All right, here we go. First page is always our balance sheets with our assets and liabilities. Assets being what cash that we took in today, as well as all of our banks, investments, and as well as our unreconciled checks at this time. And then the bottom is our liabilities, and that's all the departments and their balances. And at this time, we're at $55,460,226.08. And all funds and assets are in balance. Page 2. Now, the quarterly report that I always give is usually on a year-to-date, starting from July 1 up to now. And that first column that you see is July 1 of 2024, our beginning balances that we started with, and all the ending balances that are in today, again at the $55 million mark. I did check mark where our receipts and disbursements are at this point in time. If you will see the difference in those columns in receipts and disbursements, you're about $10 million to the good right now. A lot of things happening between now and the end of June. Just wanted you to know where you're at right now. The third page is just where I have to sign for the county commission. Again, that fiscal year beginning balance was at $45,027,836.02. And again, ending balance today, $55,460,226.08. Page 4. This is the property taxes that we're responsible for in the office. Collection period started October the 1st, always starts October the 1st and goes through the end of February. Busy time is coming up. At this point in time for 2024 taxes, we are responsible for $16.5 million. And at this time, we have collected 55.94%, almost 56% of the collection period.
Is that kind of on track at this time?
That's hard to guess this
I wondered
time
about
because
that.
of the difference in the percentage increases. I knew I would be asked that question.
I just wondered. I didn't know how you figured it.
That is, if I could guess, looking back at numbers, we're about 2% off. The large fluctuation in the difference in the tax rate can cause that to be skewed a little bit. My last page is going back to the prior year tax, 2023 taxes. We were responsible for $12.9 million, and at this time, we still have about $282,000 out. So we're at 97.81% collected. We do have notices ready to go out Friday. That gives individuals that have not paid the 2023 taxes another chance to pay those before April the 1st. I do have to relinquish those that are unpaid to the clerk and master April 1st. So another chance to collect this, what is still left out there, $282,000 of the $12.9 million. But I'm pleased with this collection going forward and on the prior year tax. Any questions with any of these figures? Investments, I will mention investments just a little bit. Sometimes Jeff Barnes mentions those. Had some investments to mature just the other day. Have about $38.2 million in maturing this year. Not to say that that's all going to hit in the same budget year, but there's a lot coming up. We'll let you know that. So a lot of negotiating.
Can I just ask a point of clarification?
Yes,
I
sir.
think you've tried to indicate that here, but I'm assuming that on page 4 and 5, the 6.5 million, the 16.5 million you referenced and the 12.9 million you referenced is the sum of the tax aggregate and the public utilities number.
That's correct. Yes, sir. Well, the public utilities usually comes late December after the October tax roll load. So that's usually the difference in the $325,000 to $400,000 figure. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Sean.
you.
Anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge Sean's report?
I'll put that in the form of a motion that we accept that.
I'll second.
Motion by Myron Rhodey, seconded by Tom Chandler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes. We'll go on to our local option sales tax report. For December, DeKalb County collected $175,759.67. The Smithville, $394,435.81. Alexandria, $33,091.94. Downtown, $4,135.23. Liberty, $12,961.73, with a net collection of $620,384.38. Last year's number in December was $606,162.76, so we have went up some. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge the local option sales tax report?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Tony Colwell,
I'll second.
seconded by Greg Matthews. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Our DeKalb County Executive Financial Statement. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge this quarterly report?
Motion acknowledged.
Motion by Daniel Cripps,
I'll second it.
seconded by Matthias Anderson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. You should have two financial statements from the Board of Education, one with expenditures and one with revenues. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge these two Board of Education reports?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
Tony Colwell and seconded by Myron Rhodey. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Highway. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge the highway quarterly report?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Greg Matthews, seconded by Tom Chandler.
Question.
Discussion, go ahead.
We're not showing any revenue coming in bridge program and state aid program. Under actual,
Mm-hmm.
is that because the state is way behind in reimbursing us?
I have no idea. I'm not quite sure about the highway. Danny, do you want to come up here and, I don't know, you might want to reinstate your question, Mr. Green, to Danny Hill so he can,
So
Give me an
in the
answer.
year-to-date, we're not showing any revenue on bridge program and state aid program.
We get that normally one time a year, you know, when we get it. About a year ago, Bill Lee proposed, we normally get 140, 160,000 for bridges, we normally get 140, 160,000 for roads. Difference every year, you know what I mean? Sometimes we don't get enough, as much for ones we do the other. But, normally the state gets 23 million for state aid for the whole state. That's what's proposed for it. So about a year ago, Bill Lee proposed 300 million of one-time money. And so it went through all the subcommittees, House, Senate, passed everything. So a part of that was 2.5 million, but we didn't get none during that. That money's sitting there, but till it's used, I still got 1.6, which is planned to use this summer of it left. Until it's used, we don't, you know what I'm saying? It's, it don't show that we got it on here, because I don't get the money. It don't come in till I spend it. And then the state reimburses, the way it works. So, that answers your question.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, we're 6 months into the year and we hadn't gotten any money back from the state.
Yeah. And like I said, because he done that last year, we didn't, that 2.5 we got was all a part of what we normally get 140, 160, you know what I'm saying? So that's how that worked out. It hit spring, you know, you start paving, that goes quick, you know what I'm saying? It's currently costing me $200,000 to pave 1 mile of road. So that goes pretty fast. But that's why it don't show none on here, because we ain't gotten it. The money's there on what he proposed last year, but we don't get that in, you know, none comes in our budget till it's spent, and then they reimburse it for a percentage of it. They get you.
Okay.
Can I make the assumption that, for one thing, you said that I'm assuming a fair amount of this is for paving, which you couldn't be doing this time of the year anyway.
Right. You know, on time you can do this in the summertime, so that's when it dissipates pretty quick. Any more questions? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes. We're going to budget amendments. We have a Fund 101 budget amendment in the amount of $21,465 debited from community development and crediting to the Economic Community Development Contracted Services. This is the money for the Baxter Waterline Project from the TDEC grant. Attached is all your documentation. Anybody like to make a motion to approve this budget amendment?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Tom Chandler,
Second.
seconded by Myron Rhodey. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Our next budget amendment is from our miscellaneous funds in the amount of $23,200, Fund 101, crediting to Sheriff's Department salaries. This is the money from the state police salary supplements. So this is their money that they receive for their post-training. Any questions? Well, I got a motion to accept this.
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Myron.
I'll second.
Seconded by Tony Luna. Any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Our committee reports. Let's do the Public Works first. Does anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge the Public Works minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Tom Chandler,
Second.
seconded by Matthias Anderson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. On with the Health, Education, Public Welfare Committee. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge these minutes?
I make a motion.
Motion by Tom Chandler and seconded by Larry Green. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Our Government Services Committee. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge? We got Daniel Cripps' motion. Seconded by Glenn Merriman. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Our Audit Committee minutes. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Matthias Anderson,
Second.
seconded by Larry Green. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, we're going on to new business. Our first item of business is the 3rd District County Commissioner vacancy. Now, Hilton, do we have to vote on the rules before the appointment? Is that how that,
We have in the past.
In the
but
past.
It's not mandatory.
we set a precedence, but
Yeah, and I guess most everybody's been here when we
Yeah.
had a vacancy.
okay, so we could just go on with our rules that we're familiar with. Whoever gets chosen for this, you're welcome to come up here. I believe, do we have an empty chair? Maybe not. Maybe not, but we'll get you settled in anyway. Patrick, can you get us one more chair, please? Thank you. So how we'll do this is we'll open the floor for nominations. Every commissioner can nominate someone. It doesn't take a second. Once we have our nominees, then we'll vote on each individual, and whoever gets the most of majority will get the seat. So if somebody, our majority right now is 7, so if somebody got 7 and someone had 8, 8 would get it. If we had somebody that was 7 and 7, then they would tie, and then we would vote on those 2 that had tied to try to break the tie. And again, like I said, normally our majority would be 8, but since we have 13 members, our majority is now 7. So has anybody got any questions before we start this process? All right. So I'll go ahead and open the floor for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Johnny Croon.
All right. Johnny Croom.
I would like to nominate Brandon Donnell.
Brandon Donnell. All right. Is there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Stuart Caldwell.
All right. Stuart Caldwell. Any more nominations? All right. If there's no nominations, would somebody like to make a motion that nominations cease?
I'll make that motion. Nomination cease.
Tony Colwell made a motion for nominations to cease. Tom Chandler seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Motion passes. We have Johnny Croom, Brandon Donnell, and Stuart Colwell. So we're just going to go in the order that they were nominated. So, clerk, can you call the roll for Johnny Croom?
Tom Chandler,
No.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
No.
Andy Pack,
No.
Myron Rhodey,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
No.
Daniel Cripps,
No.
Jeff Barnes,
No.
Sabrina Farler,
No.
Tony Colwell.
No.
8 no.
All right. Now let's call roll for Brandon Donnell.
Tom Chandler,
Yes.
Tony Luna,
No.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
No.
Myron Rhodey,
No.
Greg Matthews,
Yes.
Andy Pack,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
Yes.
Jeff Barnes,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes.
Tony Colwell.
Yes.
10 yes.
All right. Clerk, can you go ahead and call the roll for Stuart Colwell?
Tom Chandler,
No.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
No.
Myron Rhodey,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
No.
Andy Pack,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
No.
Daniel Cripps,
No.
Daniel Cripps,
No.
Jeff Barnes,
No.
Sabrina Farler,
No.
Tony Colwell.
Yes.
Seven no, 6 yes.
All right, so just to confirm with my clerk, we have 5 yes votes for Johnny Croom, 8 no. Brandon Donnell is 10 votes yes, 3 no. Stuart Caldwell, 6 votes yes, and 7 no.
Correct.
All right, so the majority went to Brandon Donnell. So Brandon Donnell is now our representative of the 3rd District. We got a chair seat for him. I'm sliding between Myron and Andy over here. Donnell, you're welcome to take a seat. You want to pass this packet down? Yeah. So we can't, Donnell, we won't be able to let you vote on anything because you haven't been sworn in yet, but we want to go ahead and invite you to the table. All right. Now we're going to go to the National Weather Service on our agenda. Caleb Cravens is here from the National Weather Service. He's an incident meteorologist. He's got something to tell us today and present us something. So, Caleb, you're welcome to come up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name's Caleb Cravens, and I am, like you said, an incident meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Nashville, Tennessee. Fun fact, I'm actually just from down the road in Sparta, Tennessee, born and raised. So I'm actually happy to be working for the Weather Service here in my hometown. But I'm here to present DeKalb County with accreditation that we do with the National Weather Service called Storm Ready. But before we get too far along on that, if you don't know who the National Weather Service is, we are a government weather service agency. We fall under the Department of Commerce, and then underneath the Department of Commerce you have NOAA, and we're underneath NOAA. There's 122 offices across the U.S. That are in charge of forecasting the weather for the U.S. and also issuing all of your watches, your warnings, and your advisories. So when you're at home and you hear a tornado warning or a flood warning, that is us issuing those. Our mission is we provide weather, water, and climate data, forecasts, and warnings for the protection of life and property. That's the key words, protection of life and property, and the enhancement of the national economy. Some other things we do is we work with public local officials, which is a part of this process I'm about to talk about here, and local emergency managers toward becoming more prepared for all weather extremes, kind of falling back to that protection of life and property. So the Storm Ready program, what this is, it's a nationwide program that helps build a weather-ready nation, like we like to call it, essentially focused on preparedness. It's a grassroots effort across the U.S., and it's really to help communities develop and plan to handle all types of weather, from tornadoes to winter storms. It's voluntary. It is not required. So this is completely up to each county, emergency managers, communities, schools to participate in. And there's a standard set of guidelines, and they're not easy to maintain. So being able to receive this accreditation is quite an accomplishment. Across the U.S., there are around 3,500 storm-ready communities. So across the whole U.S., that's still not that many, so that just goes to show kind of the status that this portrays. The guidelines for storm ready. So before you can become a storm ready community, you have to have a 24-hour warning point, so someone that's present at all times that can receive our warnings and alert the public. They also have to agree to promote the importance of public readiness through community outreach, so hosting tables at different fairs throughout the community. They must have a formal hazardous weather plan. They must have multiple ways to receive, monitor, and send weather information. So once we send out the information, they in return have to be able to receive it, have multiple ways to receive it, and then also redisseminate to the county. They have to have an emergency operations plan and an emergency operations center. And then they also must partner with the National Weather Service for safety and preparedness. So those are the guidelines that are required. And DeKalb County has met all those requirements. Myself and a few others, we've been working with the county for the past several months to reach this goal, and with the ultimate goal of strengthening our relationship with the National Weather Service, with the county itself, and with the ultimate goal of being able to better have the county prepared for hazardous weather and protect you guys, the community, against hazardous weather. So with that, on behalf of the Storm Ready Advisory Board, I would like to congratulate DeKalb County for being certified as Storm Ready Community. The leadership and the progressive preparedness measures taken by DeKalb County Emergency Management Agency has really been outstanding through the whole process. They really, really are dedicated to preparedness and protecting this community. DeKalb County EMA has put into place redundant methods of monitoring weather, receiving watches and warnings for the National Weather Service, and disseminating severe weather warnings throughout the community. DeKalb County EMA has also grown and strengthened its relationships with us through this process, helping foster that relationship and that collaborative communication. They've dedicated themselves to participating in educational outreach programs and have written severe weather preparedness plans and has conducted severe weather exercises. I just want to say a special thank you to your emergency manager, Charles Parker. He couldn't be here tonight, but he played a key role in pushing this forward for the county, and your 911 director, Brad Mullinex. He also played a key role for their willingness and their hard work and earning this accreditation. So I would like to present this plaque. I think, Matt, if you want to come up and present to you.
Yeah. Well, is Brad Mullen, I know Charlie couldn't be here tonight. Did Brad Mullinex make it out tonight?
I don't think he
did?
made it.
All right. I'll ask our senior member and pro temp, Jeff Barnes, to go up and accept the award for us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Caleb. Thank you for coming out. And we appreciate that very much. I know Brad and Charlie enjoy it. Again, to just expand a little bit of what he said, just to commend Charlie Parker and Brad Mullinex for the hard work that they've done. You heard those requirements to be considered storm ready and to achieve that award. So those were some pretty high demands that 911 Director Mullinex and EMA Director Charlie Parker, they really put a lot of effort into everything that they do there at their agency. So we just want to commend them for doing a great job. So if you see them, give them a pat on the back. All right. So our next item of business is going to be our floodplain resolution. This is something else that Charlie Parker spoke with us at our workshop meeting about. This county flood damage prevention resolution. This is to approve our FEMA flood maps. Does any, which I know that Charlie spoke a little bit about what happens if you don't have a resolution in place. So each county is supposed to have this flood damage prevention resolution in place to, I guess, accept the regulations for the FEMA flood maps. If you do not have a resolution in place, many things like your VA loans and other federal loans and grants kind of become void. So each county has to have a resolution in place to be eligible for those federal loans or federal grants. So I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to accept the resolution. I know Charlie elaborated a little bit more than I can on Thursday. So
I'll put that in form of a motion to accept this.
I'll second.
Meyer and Rhodey made a motion to approve the resolution, and Andy Pack seconded that. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there is. I have no issue with the purpose of this resolution, and for the most part, I don't have issues with it, but I've gone through this document. It is not ready for this group to approve, and I'm just going to try to touch upon why I say that. Just as a question, there's a reference in here to the DeKalb County having an inventory of historic places. Do we actually have such a thing?
I'm not real sure.
Okay. There are, there is a space in here for identifying the administrator. I'm going to guess that would be Charlie Parker, but it's not in this document, and it's not something that there's a place here for a name to be here, so that we'd have to, seems like to me, we'd have to vote on that before we could vote on this document. There are any number of references in here to FEMA, and if we've been listening to our president over the last week, well, we may not have a FEMA for very long. That's nothing we can do about that right now, but I just kind of throw that out there. There is a place on page 14, and again, I understand that this is a sort of a template from the state, but if you read this item E on this page 14, it actually asks for a rather detailed itemization of materials and labor and estimates of materials and labor, and it seemed kind of onerous to me. Maybe we're currently doing that, but it just kind of stuck out to me that seems to be asking a lot. There is, let me find them. There, on page 26, there is a blank space, one that says amount, and another says number of, where there's amount of dollars to be filled in for a fee to be paid for asking for an appeal. And then there is a space for a number of days for having a hearing to do that. That's also not filled in. That same page references the Regional Board of Zoning Appeals. We've not defined who the Regional Board of Zoning Appeals is. I would make the basic assumption that it's probably the Planning Committee, but we haven't said that. And if it's not the Planning Committee, there's really nothing in here defining how you go about determining who that is or what they might be paid. There is a reference in here about compensation of the members, but nothing about how it's formed. So I think these are all things that can be addressed, but I don't see how we can approve a document that's got stuff in it that's not filled in. I understand the urgency, but I'm just saying, there are holes in this.
I do see what you're speaking of, so I can talk to Charlie Parker and ask him about some of this. I know that the administrator is Charlie Parker. That's just appointed. He's kind of already been the administrator over this, as he kind of expressed in the workshop that he thought that this was already in place, and they had found out that they had never passed the resolution for it to be in place. So this has kind of still been going as if it had been passed, under the impression that it had been before.
And that's my understanding.
Right. Yes. But I do see your concerns. I do see that there's
a reference in here to the permitting, that there's a document or things for getting the permit. And maybe that's all the same stuff that the planning committee has already been doing. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying that,
I understand.
Again,
there is, with it being blank on a, whatever that price was, there was a number there. I do see what you're talking about there, where it asked for a number to be placed in. So we can talk to Shirley about it.
I mean,
yeah. So we got a motion and a second to approve. So
as Charlie described on Thursday night, so can I comment about what Charlie said on Thursday night? So on Thursday night, refresh your memories, what he said was, I think he said this technically needed to be in place by the 15th of February, but if it was put off until the end of next month, where these spaces could be filled in, that you're just looking at actually probably less than 2 weeks there, and you'd have to have something serious happen in the county for us to be under some kind of exposure. So I just don't see a big risk of pushing this off and get these things filled in so that we can vote on a document that's complete in next month's meeting.
Subsidiary motion to table, right? It's a motion to table. All right, well, Is there any other discussion? Would somebody like to entertain a motion to table this till
I'll
next?
make that motion.
Okay. So we got a motion by Tom Chandler to table. Anybody like to second?
Second.
Second by Glenn Merriman. Any discussion?
Yeah, let me comment.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with this document. I think this is a fine document. I think we need to have it. I think it provides something really good. I'm just saying it's not complete.
Right. All right, so we got a motion and a second. Right, a motion to table, a motion and second to table the original motion. Let's call roll just because it's the way it is, the nature of it. So motion to table.
Tom Chandler,
Yes.
Tony Luna,
No.
Larry Green,
No.
Beth Pafford,
No.
Myron Rhodey,
No.
Greg Matthews,
Yes.
Andy Pack,
No.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
Yes.
Jeff Barnes,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler,
No.
Tony Caldwell.
No.
Six yes, 7 no.
All right, motion failed for the lack of majority. So now we're back to our original motion of approving. We had a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and call roll on that as well.
Tom Chandler,
No.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
Yes.
Myron Rhodey,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
No.
Andy Pack,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
No.
Glenn Merriman,
No.
Daniel Cripps,
No.
Jeff Barnes,
No.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes.
Tony Caldwell.
Yes.
Six no, 7 yes.
7 yes, all right, that was majority.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
And my motion would be that between now and the next meeting, all of these items be filled in to the satisfaction of this commission and be voted on at the next commission meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So Tom made a motion that the questionable items
Yes.
that he has brought up before be filled in and brought back for approval next month.
Yes.
Myron seconded that motion. Is there any discussion?
How does that affect the vote we just had?
Do what?
I think that counteracts the vote we just had.
Well, it's
We
still a
voted
motion,
to
so we have
adopt
to
it.
act on it.
Well,
But
what was just voted in has no validity because it's got holes in it. So I'm trying to fix the holes as expediently as we can fix them. Unless we want to do it tonight, then the next opportunity to do it is at the next commission meeting. Or we can push this off into one of the subcommittees and have them deal with it between the next commission meeting.
I think you'd have to have the input from Director Parker.
Yes.
I'll give my opinion on this the way I understand it. This is more of a technicality. It's just something that kind of has to be on the books for FEMA funding in the case of an emergency. I think we can amend it. I mean, we'll have to amend it because, as you stated, it's incomplete. So I think what the motion would be is, let's review this in the Planning Commission, I think. The Planning Commission would be part of this, or will this be public safety?
I would just have Director Parker fix it and talk about it in the workshop.
Yeah, so so then maybe by the time we're at the workshop, we'll have a amended version of this that will provide more
One of the things he's
details.
gonna have to do then, for example, there's a fee item in there. He's gonna have to propose a fee item,
Right.
and we will have to vote on that fee, presumably in the next commission meeting,
Correct.
okay? So I'm just saying. My motion was that we fix the holes between now and the next commission meeting. So we can amend this document in the next commission meeting.
Correct.
It'll be on the agenda next month again.
But we've got it in play right now. That's what, that was my main concern.
Understand?
That was my main concern,
Yeah.
not running out of time.
Any more discussion before we take a vote? And again, because of the conversations, we'll do a roll call vote.
So the motion is to amend this document?
The motion is
To fix
that
the
we,
holes.
Well, we don't know that there's any holes technically. We just need to
Well, there are
review it.
holes. There's a fee to be filled in, a number of days, the person of the administrator, and the definition of who is this appeals. We need a regional board of zoning appeals. This document does not define who that is. So
He
presumably
said
it's-
Thursday night, the planning commission,
yeah,
3 people off the planning commission Thursday night's what he said.
yeah. Yeah, he elaborated on that, that the planning commission would be the appeals board for this zoning, or for this floodplain. And he would be the administrator. There are some holes, like you said, the price, and there was like a number in there.
It's on
But
page
the
26, if anybody wanted to
Yeah,
look at it.
so the motion is that this comes back to next month's meeting corrected. So Charlie will correct those spaces that Tom had mentioned about the numbers, a price. There's a fee there that's left blank, so he'll correct that and then represent it next Monday, or
But
the
if
next.
something
county
catastrophic
commission.
happens between now and then, we're covered.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes,
That was
yes,
the reason I voted yes.
Yes.
that's me too.
Me too.
And we got a motion by Tom and a second by Myron. No. All right, any more discussion before we take roll call?
And this is for the planning committee to review with Charlie and
No, just Charlie. will
in
come
general,
up with-
Charlie's gonna
Yeah,
review
Charlie.
it, present it to the workshop. Got
Right.
it.
And I'm gonna make the presumption that Charlie will bring us something in writing.
Yes, I'm assuming he would, yes. Yeah, we can ask for that. Yeah. All right, any more discussion? Clerk, can you call the roll?
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
Yes.
Jeff Barnes,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes,
Tony Colwell,
Yes.
Andy Pack,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
Yes.
Tom Chandler,
Yes,
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
yes.
Myron Rhodey.
Yes,
13 yes.
All right, motion passes, so we'll see this again in our next meeting. Our next item on new business is the election office space. The Public Works Committee had been looking at this for a while, about moving the election office to the empty space at the complex. And they asked for this to be on the agenda to make a formal vote on that location.
so I would like to move that the location is the vacant space that we've been talking about for 6 months in this building, and that we move to approve that as the space, and to go forward with the budget estimate of $10,000 and move as quickly as possible toward bidding, competitive bidding to get this process underway.
I will second that.
So, just want to talk about your motion for a minute. Are you wanting to approve the funding and the space?
Yes.
I need the funding to be a little bit more descriptive. So, from general fund balance, capital projects fund balance, to what line?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
like a motion, we do it in capital fund balance.
I'll
We move
second.
the money from capital fund balance to account 91706.
All right. So, I already had a motion on the table, so I can't take two motions
Okay,
at
so
once.
just hang on.
But will
So
you?
I'll back up,
I was
and
gonna
I'll
say-
make my motion just to approve the space in the county complex where we've been talking about for 6 months.
I'll second that.
All right. So I got a motion from Tom Chandler.
Well, you
So
redone it.
he's kind of amended his motion. That the election office will acquire the vacant space that is next to Shannon Cantrell's office. And then Myron Rhodey seconded that. Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All right.
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I was gonna second that. So we're
Do we
doing-
have a second?
We got a second.
Oh, okay.
I was waiting to see discussion, but
Discuss.
we'll go ahead and just feel like we might need to do roll call on it. I haven't hear no opposition, but just because. Let's roll call.
Tom Chandler,
Yes.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
Yes.
Myron Rhodey,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
Yes.
Andy Pike,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
Yes.
Jeff Barnes,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes.
Tony Colwell.
Yes.
13 yes.
All right.
Now
Now,
Larry's moving.
Okay, so the
now spit it
amendment,
off.
so the budget amendment would be to move $110,000 from capital projects fund balance to account 91706, which is capital projects, capital projects, county buildings.
All right. So Larry's made a motion to allocate $110,000 from our capital projects fund balance, debiting into that to our, what was it, buildings? Can you say that number again? The
91706.
91706. And that's 706 is line item, building construction.
Yes.
All right. Anybody like to second that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Tom Chandler. Is there any discussion?
Is this the same, motion that was on the table? I guess it would be the amendment that was there last time, or was?
It's different. So the one we had last month was from the general fund
Oh, okay.
balance.
Okay, I understand now. I got you.
So he's using the capital projects fund instead of the general
That's the
fund.
difference between
Yep.
them.
Yep.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, in my opinion,
Yes.
the general fund balance should be used for year-to-year expenses. This is not a year-to-year expense. This is a
It's
one-time deal.
expense. Absolutely. I agree with that. I just wanted to understand it correctly.
Yep. Any more discussion? All right. Clerk, can you call the roll?
Tony Colwell,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes.
Jeff Barnes,
No.
Daniel Cripps,
No.
Glenn Merriman,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Andy Pike,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
Yes.
Myron Rhodey,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
Yes.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Tom Chandler.
Yes.
Eleven yes.
All right, motion passes. Now our auxiliary community center rate, that's currently $50 now. There was some discussion about changing that rate to $100.
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Tom Chandler made a motion to change the auxiliary community center rate from $50 to $100.
Second.
Seconded by Larry Green. Is there any discussion?
I think if some of them ain't getting rented, people may think that he doesn't paying too much at $50. I don't see how 100's gonna make a big improvement in it.
Well, part of the reason, well, maybe the big reason for doing this is we have already spent a great deal of money on these community centers in the last year. We still have a great deal of money to be spent on these community centers in order to bring them up to just the basic repairs. And even at $50, it was not even half of what is the current estimated cost. And at $100, it's still below the estimated expense that that sits in front of us. And as I pointed out the other night, the elephant in the room is that we have 8 community centers. One of them is Cherry Hill, which we've got leased out, and then we have 7 others. 5 of them are used as voting precincts, but the elephant in the room is that they're old, they're in much need of repair. A lot of the usage of these facilities has actually come to the county complex. If it wasn't for the church that's using Snow Hill, collectively, these are not getting very much usage. And so the elephant is that we probably need to be thinking about getting rid of them, either leasing them out to someone. The only one that we could sell that might not have an encumbrance on it is Temperance Hall. The encumbrance on the others is that they were built under a federal program that we're probably way beyond the statute of limitations on needing to have it. If you were depreciating these buildings, they'd have been long ago, the value of them depreciated. So I just don't understand why we would not at least try to help ourselves in keeping up the maintenance and repair of these buildings. The alternative to me is we find 5 other places to have a voting precinct and try to lease or sell them. So that's, and again, the big move has been for people to come to the county complex, which is what we wanted when we built the county complex. Look at all these people sitting out here. They're using all the county complex. And some of them were probably using some of these community centers in the past. We've had lots of complaints of the community centers in bad shape, they're not cleaned up, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, this is just a stopgap at taking this to $100 to maybe try to help us in keeping these things up, but it's a losing battle, big losing battle.
Any more discussion? All right, clerk, can you call the roll?
Tom Chandler,
Now, wait a minute, what are we voting on?
We're voting on, if you vote yes, you change it from $50 to $100.
Okay.
We're not voting to get rid of them.
I didn't know what we was voting on here. We need to back up and punt here.
So yes.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green,
Yes.
Beth Pafford,
Yes.
Myron Rhodey,
Yes,
Greg Matthews,
No.
Andy Pack,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps, Jeff Barnes,
No.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes.
Tony Colwell.
Yes.
11 yes.
All right, motion passes. Next item is the surplus of 1986 Persh fire truck.
I'll make a motion, we surplus the 1986 Persh fire truck per Donnie Green's request.
and I'll second that.
Motion by Larry Green and seconded by Myron Rhodey. Any discussion? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Sheriff's Department's policy and procedures. Would anybody like to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Tony Colwell,
I'll second.
seconded by Greg Matthews. Any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Other business, in our workshop meeting, we did receive a road report. And there was one question on there about Nixon Way not having a length. That was a new road that was added, Nixon Way. I don't think Douglas Road has one either on page 3. However, I spoke with Supervisor Hale earlier before the meeting, and he said if you were all right with passing this contingent on him changing those he would show you what that would be next month.
So I move we accept the report.
All right. Motion by, do you want to do it contingent on him
Yes.
changing? Okay. Motion by Tom Chandler to approve the DeKalb County Road Report for 2025. And there's also, in that motion, gives road supervisor discretion to change, or rather fill in the
Right. The
mileage
ones
or
that are
length
blank.
of the roads.
Right. Missing information.
Missing information, right. Second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Glenn Merriman. Any discussion? All right. Hearing no opposition. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Motion passes. And we did discuss also in our workshop meeting the application for the gravel pits and so on and so forth. The only ordinance that DeKalb County has in place, that we did not have an official approved application through the county commission. So Larry Green emailed that out over the weekend.
Yes,
I don't know if
everybody
everyone's
should
had
have
the
it.
opportunity to look that over. If anybody would like to entertain a motion to approve that application, we can do so.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Beth Pafford and seconded by Tom Chandler. Is there any discussion?
Does there need to be a timeline when they return them or anything? I didn't see that on there.
Yeah, there.
Could there be a 45-day time limit for them to return it, or?
Have to be returned before they get approval to get a permit.
Right. Yeah, you'd have to return it in order to get a permit. So if you didn't turn it in, you wouldn't get your permit.
And is it still true that nobody has returned an application yet?
Has anybody returned anything, Hilton?
I haven't seen one.
Jimmy, do you know if anybody's tried to return one to you or anything like that?
We have not had one return, nor have actually, since y'all just actually voted on it. So whatever this commission has approved, I would just appreciate the approved copy, approved by the commission, included in our packet to include into the minutes for tonight's meeting so that it goes on record as that. And while we're on that subject, should one be turned in upon the approval of them returning back to the office for a permit, y'all need to also come up with a permit for my office to be able to issue, because we don't have a permit to issue once y'all approve the application.
Larry, can you get the clerk an application, copy of the application?
Yes.
And Jimmy, didn't you say you could order a special permit book or something like that you talked about?
Yeah, I mean, as far as ordering the permits, it's just the type permits. If you like, for the beer board, they use carbon copies, where we keep one copy, give the customer a copy, to where we have our folders, our information for our wholesale for each year where we mail out letters. Again, this is going to be an annual fee, I think, from initial to annual again, so we could do something similar. We just need the wording of how y'all want the permit to read as to what, as far as ordering and taking care of ordering them. I don't care to order them, I just need to know what this commission wants on the permits.
Is it not sufficient to just stamp them approved and give them a copy?
It'll be sufficient to me with whatever y'all give me approval to do.
Could we, I know you had mentioned something about having a special permit book, and maybe you could write in there like beer board or gravel pit or...
Again, we have one that's designated for beer permits. Once that application, which on a beer application, they come to our office, they fill it out either there or bring it back. It's not submitted until it's paid for. It's non-refundable, which is the same method I would prefer this be done in. That way, there's not a timeline. It don't start until it's turned in and paid for, because if it's not paid for, how much time are you going to give them to pay for it, although they turn it in? And I'm just, I think they should be picked up at our office. I think they should be paid for before they leave to go outside of our office. But with that being said, as far as, again, with the permit, you know, we can, whatever y'all decide because of what you're involving in with the application and what all it entails on what you're approving, it needs to be, in my opinion, it would need to designate what permit we're approving, whether it's for adult entertainment, whether it's for a gravel. I mean, you've got options of what your application is, and the same thing for this permit. You either need to have multiple permits for each one you're approving, or you need a permit set up to where you can choose which permit you're actually issuing for what type of business you're doing. So either way, we can help obtain it and order it. That's not a problem. I just need to know what this board wants and how you want it to read, how you want it laid out.
I think probably the most appropriate action would just be ordering maybe a book that has just a special permit, and then you can write in whatever you want. Instead of having a permit book for each one, you can just write in, you know.
I'm not for sure who come up with the application. I know we had some examples to go by, but
Yeah,
if
Larry
y'all
came up
want
with
to
it.
just sort of come up with a template, I don't care to,
There's your application.
but you come up with a template of how you want a permit, and then y'all approve it, and I'll get it ordered. This is sort of like the beer board application. You know, we got 2 or 3 pages in the application, but yet then we've got basically a 5 or 7 permit, so that's carbon copy.
Do they make like a general permit book? You could write any permit in it? Get what I'm saying?
I can
Almost
check.
like a receipt book?
I'll be glad to check. I mean, if
Just
if that's what y'all choose,
it's
just
just a
something
general-
handwritten for what you're
Right.
approving off that application, that's
Because
fine with me.
There's no telling, like, if we make another ordinance for something in the future or something.
If you
that
just want a
could constantly
general
change.
receipt
Yeah,
permit
Just a general
for what applies with that application,
you
that's
could
how we
write
can
in
receipt it in. Sure.
cryptocurrency, whatever, on the
Again,
permit.
y'all are the board, y'all tell me. If you just want a general all-purpose, that's what we'll do. And we'll fill in whatever the application reads.
I just thought it might save you some money and time, but.
So, can we ask Jimmy to come back next month tell us what he found out about the permit
Yeah.
thing? And after he's had a chance to look at that form, with any other questions or issues that he has, so we can try to address that in the next meeting?
You all right with that, Jimmy?
Sure.
And we really probably should do that in the workshop, correct? I mean, have all that set out.
Right.
That'd have been good. I mean, we're about to vote on an application that this commission as a whole had no playing part of getting created. It was pushed through to the county attorney to be sent and put in use without this board's vote and approval. I was told in the workshop it ain't needed, and now we're asked to go back and approve something that's already in use. I mean, I think that's a little jumping the gun. I think it looks a little bad on us as a whole that had no part in this, and now go back and vote on something that's already been pushed through and in use.
Yes.
So could I ask?
I'm not going to argue, but it's also covering bases. We have never passed a County Powers Act before. And I know people did what they could. We need guidance, and we're learning as we go. When we've talked with the mayor of Grundy County, he said that their board, their commissioners had approved an application. And my recommendation was, then we should approve our application as well. We've approved the County Powers Act, so that's our policy. And this is about approving the application. And yes, it got sent out because it took effect immediately.
I would like to point out that from our workshop the Thursday before till the night of when that was passed, before we left this building, someone was already looking for loopholes in that whole thing. And it was passed, and half of us here are still under the impression of what it was supposed to be, that the current ones was grandfathered in. This will be from that day forward. And it was used to send to the ones that already, I'll call them, in action, to try to cease and desist them for doing everything they were supposed to do. It was used to try to stop them from following through with their business. I mean,
Can I
just-
move
I
the-
think it is wrong when a county goes after any business, and I hate it, and I'm not for rock quarries or any of that, hope no more come here, but we're going after legitimate people for doing everything that they was supposed to do, because we don't like them. That's wrong. Whether it's a rock quarry or a mom and pop restaurant, it's wrong to go after a business that we just don't want.
So at this point, what's been done in terms of sending out notices has been done. Can I move that we table this into the appropriate subcommittee to review this application and come back to the commission next month with their comments?
You want to move to table it?
I am.
All right, so we had a motion and a second to approve the application, am I right? Okay, so he's making a motion to table that and send to which committee?
I don't know what's the appropriate one for it to go. Is it public works?
I think normally a lawyer takes care of this stuff. And the county mayor.
I don't care. I'm just saying.
Which committee?
Bunch of questions. I don't know what's the appropriate subcommittee to put it in.
I'm not
Is
real
it
sure
public
myself.
works? Is it
I
government
think
services?
it would probably be
Is it
closer to government services if I had to question it maybe, but I don't really know.
Government services is scheduled to meet on February the 3rd.
Is that what you want to do?
If that's the appropriate place, then I'd move that we put it there for their discussion and come back to us next month.
Would anybody like to second Tom's motion to table the question of the approval of the application and to refer it to the Government Services Committee?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Glenn Merriman. Any discussion before we take vote? All right.
So what is the discussion at the government service meeting, other than to look at it again?
To look,
That we received in an
That's-
email?
So I made the motion because of just the discussion that we've had and Jimmy's comments about it, and
I think the confusion is the application looks good. Jimmy's question was about the actual permit
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
Which is two different things.
Two different things.
The application,
He's needing to know how to do the actual permit. The
So when somebody
application we
delivers-
approved.
but hold on. Jimmy is indicating that he's never seen this application before. So it would seem to me that it would be appropriate to allow Jimmy to look at the application to see if he's got any other comments than the one he's given us.
I saw the application last month, but in last month's meeting, it was a question about who was this application was being sent, and everybody asked. That was relayed, so I knew there was an application. I had reviewed on email by Mr. Green and Mr. Conner what the application had looked like. So I had seen and viewed it. But the commission actually, to my knowledge, didn't vote on it. It was just voted on who Mr. Conger was sending the initial applications out last month's meeting, is all I'm saying.
That was never voted either.
Now tonight you're voting on this
Yes.
for me to put in my office to use for the people that come in my office. Again, it's hard for me to be responsible to collect them if I'm not involved in knowing where they've gone to or who I'm expecting to be bringing them back in and to whom I'm supposed to be collecting the non-refundable funds from. So again, I think once this gets started, and maybe I'm wrong, but irregardless of how it got started, from future purposes, I feel like it should be like any of our other permits that we issue, if you want my office to handle them, so I can be accountable for them, is before they leave my office, if you guys are saying they're non-refundable, I need to be able to collect that money before they leave my office, before them to be non-refundable. So I'm good. I'm not questioning the application, and never have questioned if that's what y'all are good with. It's just that, you know, last month y'all voted where to send them and who they were going to. Now this month we're voting on this, so I just wanted to know that this hadn't changed and this is what I'm going to be using in my office, because we're going to go in tomorrow morning, we're going to make a new file for these in case somebody new walks in. Now, from that perspective, I'm fine with that. But then from the permit part of it, I'm not ready to issue a permit because we don't have a permit, but I can take care of that too if you just want a blanket permit for us to use for whatever we're permitting once it's approved through this commission. I just needed to know what style of a permit you want. And if you just want a blanket permit that we can use with what you have now, and for future references, if there's more on the second, page 2 on number 5, where you go A through G. I mean, if this commission adopts further resolutions that you end up having 3 more added to the 6 or 7 that's there now, I'm fine with writing in with what each application is, if that's what you guys are agreeing and saying you're acceptable to. That's all I want to know, is what you guys are wanting me to do.
Okay, so I'll withdraw my motion. However, following this vote, I'm going to make another motion, and that is that in the Government Services meeting on the 3rd, that we discuss and hopefully get Jimmy to come and discuss his issues around the permit and what should be required with that and how we should handle that.
Well,
Or
can
is that
someone
your job?
just make a motion tonight to make a blanket, for Jimmy to order a blanket permit?
I'll make that motion.
A motion? Okay.
I'll
Okay, so
Tony Luna.
Let's vote on the application first, because
Well, yeah,
that's
that's
what you
true,
got on the
yeah.
floor.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we do have a motion on the application first, so we got a motion and a second on the floor.
So did the table one got removed?
Yeah, I withdrew my motion.
Hold on, you're muted.
Let me address one thing. There is a provision in the application that, and I'll say, Ms. Pafford worked on it, Mr. Green worked on it, I worked on it. There is a provision in the application that, I guess, asks the question, if you believe you are grandfathered, state your reasons.
Yes.
Now, we've never addressed who's going to decide if they're grandfathered or not. So that's something that needs to be decided, because I would assume that some of these are going to come in, if they come in at all, and say, yes, I'm grandfathered. Well, then Jimmy's got to know, well, what do I do if he says he's grandfathered? He's not going to be the one to decide whether they're grandfathered. So,
I was under the assumption that anybody that brought one of these forward, this commission was going to vote on approving or not approving, because it was a countywide impact. So when they come forward, if they've written in there that they think they're grandfathered, then we're going to decide if they're grandfathered.
that's the first I've heard of how that was going to be handled, so. Maybe the appropriate place to discuss this is in this meeting on the 3rd.
All right, so we got a lot of questions, but we're gonna get them answered. We have a motion on the floor to approve the application that has been drafted already, and we have a second. Is there any more discussion on that topic before we take a roll call? All right. Go ahead.
Again, if this is going to be the final vote on this application, that, I guess, Larry had a copy of tonight and passed to Jimmy, I do think that issue of what if somebody claims grandfather status may be addressed in the application. You know, what do you do? Do you ask for a hearing?
Wouldn't that be on the past permit that there was issued? Anything issued before the date we passed this, wouldn't they automatically be grandfathered?
Well,
So it really pertained to new business.
this committee voted at the last meeting for me to send this to everybody, everybody that we knew that was in issue at this point, which I did. Hadn't heard from anybody, but, you know, if one of them walks in with this application and says, yes, I believe, I am grandfathered,
Where's your permit?
is that the end of it? Jimmy needs to know.
But we also, when someone comes back with the application for a permit, I don't think we've agreed that Jimmy is just gonna unilaterally decide that they get a permit or not. It was my understanding that this commission would decide if they got the permit. So if you wanna open up a quarry, it's gonna come to this commission to decide if we're gonna approve you to open that quarry based on your application. And so if you've said you're grandfathered in that application, we're gonna decide if you are grandfathered. But, and in the process of approving or disapproving the permit,
Is there any?
not Jimmy.
Is there anything in the application that says that, I mean, if somebody comes in with a new business today and asks for a permit, and he meets all the requirements, every provision that's there, he doesn't have to get approval, or does he? Does the application says he has to have approval, or if he just meets all those guidelines and he's approved, and then he can issue the permit?
But
I don't know, it's different on a grandfathering part. That will probably have to be approved by the commission, the
But
grandfathering.
But it's an application for a permit.
Right.
Someone is gonna make that decision. I don't think we decided it was Jimmy, and I'm not sure Jimmy is signing up to make
What does
that
the,
decision.
is there, what is the,
The biggest
resolution?
hang-up on it is gonna be if they can get within, outside the 5,000-foot boundary.
Right. What is the resolutions, does it have a place in there that, some type of language that states what that would be? Like, does it state that it comes back to the commission for approval, or who comes up with the distance requirements, who checks the distance requirements and stuff like that? Did it say that in the resolution?
It does not say who would check it. It does have the distance requirement in it.
Yep, and I'm not talking about the application, I'm talking about the resolution itself.
The resolution just has the distance requirement in it.
Yeah,
It doesn't say who,
doesn't say who.
Does not
we would
say who
check-
checks
okay.
it.
So there's still some questions.
And maybe we can get some advice from our attorney
But if
on
you
how
look-
to
if you look
address
at-
some of these questions.
Yeah.
If you look at the distance requirement, there's probably not a place in DeKalb County that you can get 5,000 feet from
Well,
one
yeah,
of
you're
those
probably right.
things that's in there.
Yep.
Now, if you want Jim and I to go out there and step it off, we can. He's got a tape measure. We can go out there and step it off.
Well, it's like the beer application.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
It's 800 feet. I know former mayors have taken it upon themselves.
Well, I think we passed ours to where I do the measurements for that.
For a beer order.
Yes.
Yes, it
Yep.
is in there.
But the beer application has to be approved, even though they qualify in
Yeah,
all
with the beer board.
facets, it still has to be approved. And I think that's what Mr. Chandler's saying, is who's to approve it. The beer board takes the application, or the mayor does, the office, but the beer board has to approve it even though all things come back good.
Well, maybe we should make a provision or an amendment to go along with the resolution that we've already passed to say, maybe the public works, it's referred to the public works to look at and examine any further questions, and if they need to bring
Is
it to the full
Public Works
commission,
or
they
Government
can.
Services? It doesn't seem to exactly fit either one,
Would be
because it's a
Public
third-party entity.
I mean, I'm just throwing a name out there. It could be any committee that this commission would want to use.
Well,
be
we
a-
created a beer board, we could create a,
Yeah, you could if you want to.
we could create a board to look at this. Development
Ordinance board?
Don't we have a development board? Don't we have an
We have
economic,
Community
you know,
economic.
Yeah.
improvement or whatever it's called?
Yeah, we do.
It seems like we could put it to that committee.
Yeah,
I
you
think
could.
Larry's on that committee.
Yeah.
Well, it may be premature if we're gonna have, if there's gonna be a meeting on the
think so.
3rd, what committee is that?
Government services.
I'd like to say the government service hasn't been involved in any of this part, and several committee members, I'm the chair of that. I feel like that I will absolutely discuss it during that meeting the best that I can, but this sounds like it might be more than a full commission workshop question than what 4 members can handle. That's a very small government service committee. Absolutely, well, we can look at an application and look at that. I got it on email, but I'm a little nervous about thinking that we can solve all the questions when I think there's only 4 or 5 of us. Is it 5 of us on the committee? I was gonna say, I question that when there's 14 of us.
So can I call for the question on the application itself? To
Just-
approve the application itself?
Just one more question or two before you call for question.
Okay.
If you don't mind, please, just to we're complete understanding. So, and I don't have the resolution in front of me from back
I don't either.
when this was created, but in that resolution, was the wordings, non-refundable in that resolution on that fee?
Pardon?
The $150 application fee, non-refundable?
Yes.
Because that does not read non-refundable on this application. So the only way that these people would know that is if you want a resolution attached and that highlighted, or the non-refundable added to this application also. Otherwise, you may get people questioning that if they turn this in and they are grandfathered in. So are you going to still keep that non-refundable?
They would have to have a copy of the resolution anyway, the County Powers Act. They would have to have a copy. Plus, we can modify that application
But
to
I mean,
make it
is the County
$150
Powers Act
non-refundable.
something you want me to attach with this application for new people that has not seen one?
Yes.
Okay, we need to know that because
Yes.
we can then attach it to the application itself. And I had not been asked that, but I will do that.
It's just
Well,
like when
there-
Hilton sent that out in December, he sent a copy of the resolution.
Yeah, and the follow-up, whenever I sent the other 2, one I'd already sent out, and then 2 more.
Well, I think the motion to approve the application was from Larry. So Larry can modify his motion to approve with the change that we add to the wording that the fee is non-refundable.
I'm fine with that.
All right. So Larry's amended his motion that he'll approve the application with the addition that it states that the fee is non-refundable.
Did Larry make the motion or did Beth?
Beth and Tom seconded.
Okay, so
Yes.
Beth was the one that
Yeah,
made the
Beth would
motion.
have to make
Yeah.
that
So Beth would have to make that amendment.
I make a motion that we approve the application that goes along with the County Powers Act
As amended.
as amended.
Thank you.
A second.
Well, that was her, who seconded her originally? Tom, okay. All right. Does everybody understand the motion on the table? All right. Let's roll call.
Tom Chandler,
Yes.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green.
Yes.
Beth Pafford.
Yes.
Myron Rhodey.
Yes.
Greg Matthews.
Yes.
Andy Pack.
Yes.
Matthias Anderson.
Yes.
Glenn Merriman.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps.
Yes.
Jeff Barnes.
Yes.
Sabrina Farler.
Yes.
Tony Colwell.
Yes.
13 yes.
All right. So,
Before we go forward, do you want a government service meeting to discuss the chain of command where it goes from there? Or is that resolved? We don't need one? Does it need to be in the topics? I need to understand it. I was the chair of that meeting in a week, and I needed to know if that's on the agenda or not.
let's see what Hilton says.
think probably workshop.
So the full workshop would be the best to discuss that at the next, in February. I think that's a great idea.
So
Thank you.
You just need to put it on the agenda for the next workshop.
No, yeah, to discuss, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you ready to move to notaries?
I'm getting darn close. Did we need to make a motion about the permits, or no? The blanket permits?
I'll make the motion that Jimmy pursue getting a blank permit
That could be,
kind of form that can just be used to this. But I would also add that when we do that, that it's attached to to a copy of their application, with that also stamped as approved.
do you understand that,
Is that a
Jimmy?
problem? If it's not, I'll change my motion.
Well, I mean, the permit be attached to the application?
Because
Is that what you
if
said?
you're-
Or did I
Yes,
misunderstand? I
Yeah.
felt like I heard you say the permit attached to the application, which I don't agree with.
So let me just back up and just say I'll make the motion that Jimmy pursue finding a generic blank permit
I will come
form
to the all committees meeting with
to come back to us
options
with.
to
I'll
choose
make that motion.
before our next meeting of
And
a
then we can
permit.
pursue that. Maybe we
Once-
don't need a motion to do
once
that.
the
Jimmy's saying
commission-
he'll do it.
Once the commission approves the applications, if y'all choose one at the next all committees meeting, I will have them ordered and ready to go.
Okay, good.
You rescind that?
No need for a motion.
Okay.
I would also like to enter into just our record. I got meeting minutes from the Smithville Electric Power System for just a few months that I had requested, and I just wanted to enter those into the record, if that's okay.
Oh, in our
Do I need to
minutes?
get approval for that? Yeah, they're a public utility, and it just gives some information about the crypto facility that's being built on College Street.
Do you want to put it in our county commission minutes?
Yes, I just want to enter it into the record.
Okay.
So, do I need to make a motion to do that, or can I just give this to the county clerk?
Well, none of us have seen it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
Okay, then I will table that. I'll share those minutes with everyone next month.
Okay. Coel, do you want
Yes, I want to resign from Parks and Recreation Committee Chairman,
to? Okay.
and I'd like to appoint Tony Luna.
All right. So you're going to stay on the committee, right? You're just stepping down from chairman, right? Or are you getting out of the committee completely?
I still want to be involved.
Okay,
but
so you're
I
gonna be on the
can't
committee,
I
you
won't
just-
be able to be there all the
All right.
time, and I may miss some of our regular meetings.
Right. Okay. So you're just stepping down as chair. You're staying on the
Yes.
committee.
Yes,
Your motion is to step down from chair and appoint Tony Luna as the chair of that committee.
yes.
And what's the name of that committee again? Is
Parks and Rec.
Park and Rec. Okay. Parks and Rec. All right. Do we? All right. Myron made a second. Is there any discussion?
Tony, are you already on that committee?
I'm not.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just thought that, that's fine. I
And I'm
just
willing
was-
to take it on.
And you are
Yes.
willing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
That was
Tony-
my next
is
question.
Tony willing to take it on?
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Does any other commissioner have any business?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to acknowledge the fact that last Thursday night, we had 6 people come forward from District 3 expressing an interest in occupying the seat vacated by Susanna Cripps Daltrey. And I would like to identify the 6. Brandon Donnell, Eden Noakes, I think that's, excuse me if I didn't get the name correct, Johnny Kroom, Tim Perricone, Stuart Colwell, and Lynn Dickens. I would like to thank you all for coming forward and expressing an interest. It's nice to see that there are multiple people in the county that are willing and interested in providing service to the county and being part of this commission. I think it's a compliment to District 3 that they had so many good people step up. And again, I thank all 6 of them for expressing their interest in taking that position.
I think it's mainly because District 3 is the best district in the county. Just want to add that.
Motion approved.
Approved as notary. Daniel Cripps made that motion, seconded by Greg Matthews. Any discussion? Sorry, Dwayne. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn? All right, Jeff Barnes motioned and Myron seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.